Welcome to the Mentor Me Kelly Show. I'm your host, Kelly Charles Collins. I'm also affectionately known as the Speaker Mogul. Now, on this show, you will get a behind the scenes look as I mentor and provide strategic guidance to women speakers, experts, and thought leaders to elevate their speaking business. I'll do this using our P6 framework: positioning, prospecting, pitching, pricing, packaging, and presentation skills. So listen in as they ask questions and I give answers. But don't just listen. Take notes, take action, and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Let's get started. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Mentor Me Kelly Show. I'm very excited because today we have an international guest. She is from my homeland of Jamaica, and she's actually in Jamaica. And she just told me that the Blue Mountains are outside her window. So, just a little bit jealous. But I'm so excited that you all are joining us for another episode of the Mentor Me Kelly Show. Hey, my mission in this is to really help thought leaders, speakers, experts answer some questions that you might have. So for some of you, I'm Kelly Charles Collins. I am the CEO of HR Legally Speaking, where I run a consulting and training firm where I help corporations to create inclusive cultures where every person and every voice matters, really focused on building conversational cultures. I'm also the CEO of Speaker Moguls. In Speaker Moguls, I work with women thought leaders, women experts, women speakers to help them position, pitch, and package themselves so that they can get on stages and in workplaces where they can create influence, impact, and income. So that is my mission. And one of the things and one of the reasons that the why behind starting Speaker Moguls was to ensure that women's value is not erased. And what I understand from this business, this whole speaking business, is that it's not that y'all don't have the credentials. It's not that you don't have the sense. It's not that you don't deserve to be paid, but there's so many of you out here who are being underpaid. Some of it is at your own doing, right? Because you don't even know what your value is. You don't know what to charge. So the reason I decided to do the Mentor Me Kelly Show is to give you a behind the scenes look at how I work with clients, and to open the space to people who are not working with me yet, people who are maybe not just ready, because I do work with people who have really deep levels of expertise, or for some other reason, you're not ready to jump into our thought leader circle. But I do know that you have questions. And sometimes it's just that one question, the answer to that one question that will help to move you, that will move the needle and give you the momentum. And so that's what we're doing. So this is just a behind the scenes look. If you were working with me, this is how I would answer your questions. I'm all about strategy. I'm a strategist. I'm not a coach. I'm a mentor. And I will provide you answers. I'm always, I'm the type of person that wants you to be able to get things done. So I'm about activation and implementation. So with all that said, I want to introduce you to my guest, Audrey Peterman. As I said, she is in Jamaica, which I'm so excited about. And Audrey, I'm going to turn it over to you to introduce yourself to our viewers, our listeners.
Thank you so much, Kelly. And I have to start off by telling you that in the 2 months I have known you, you have changed my life.
Oh,
You have changed my speaking potential, my appreciation of my value. And I have been speaking for 28 years. So that's big, okay?
that's
Thank you.
awesome. Thank you.
So, yes, my name is Audrey Peterman, and I got into the speaking business because I wanted to share with others the magnificent benefits of the national park system in America that I did not know existed until my husband Frank and I took a trip around, driving around the entire United States in our Ford truck, hiking and camping in 1995. And then we saw these incredible places like the Grand Canyon, Yellowstone, Yosemite, and then we realized they were protected for the American people. But guess who was not present in them? No Black people, no brown people. So we decided that just in the same way that we did not know they existed, maybe other people didn't know either. And so for the last almost 30 years, we've been trying to spread the word through speaking, writing books, and just generally living the environment. So that's my motivation. And over the years, we have gotten significant kudos. In 2022, I was awarded the National Parks Conservation Association's Centennial Leader Award for
Congrats.
making the biggest difference to America's National Park Service in this century.
Wow,
So,
that's amazing.
yes, yes, yes. But I have such a long way to go because I have so many more people that I want to share all these amazing discoveries with.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that's such a different, it's a different niche. So niche, however y'all want to call it. So I'm excited to chat with you today. So really this space is yours to ask me any questions so that I can support you. And I'm so glad that, the conversations that we've had and, Audrey was talking about the past 2 months. She attended my speaker pathways to profit workshop, which is coming up again in February. And you can go to positionpitchprofit.com. It's a 5-day workshop. So you can come to that. It's free, just register. But, she learned so much there. And she's saying to you, like, just, in those 2 months and watching the other Mentor Me Kelly episodes, which you can watch on my YouTube channel where you're seeing this. Yeah, there's lots of information. Sometimes people ask questions that you don't even know that you needed to ask, or in like just listening to the question that's being asked and the information, the strategies, the tips, the techniques that I'm providing, it will also help you. So, Audrey, if the floor is yours, how can I support you today?
Thank you so much. I am most interested, I believe, in positioning, in
Okay.
your help with positioning, because I have found that this is a multi-layered situation now. Seeing the beauty of the national parks and how that influences peace of mind, freedom, a connection to God. It's like a lifelong change that happens. And then we found out that the entire history of America is in the national parks, the amazing things that Black and Brown people did that nobody knows about. So we're trying to bring that as well. And then on top of that, now this issue of climate change and recognizing that the national parks, as the last great preserves of nature, are the best buffer that we have against climate change. So, in wanting to package all of those things, one, the incredible beauty, the liberating history, and the amazing way that you're able to see climate change differently and become involved with trying to mitigate it. All of those three things are what I'm trying to package and get out to the world.
So here's the thing. So there's a lot that you want to do with the parks and people really raising people's awareness around it. So when
Yes.
you think about positioning, what you have to think about is like what is my focus? So we can have a focus and then there can be offshoots of that focus. So like backing up, figuring out, okay, is it just that I want to raise awareness? Or is it that I want to raise awareness and inside of raising awareness, I want to create income, right? Because if it's just awareness, that's an easier thing, right? You can go out and just speak. But if you want to create awareness where you generate income from it, then what we have to think about is, okay, who is the paying audience? So one of the things that we think about when we're talking about position is who am I speaking to? But often, what people think about is when they think about who they're speaking to, they're thinking about speaking to just the person who is, or the people who are just consuming the information, right? The people who will be the audience, the physical audience or the virtual audience in the room who you are now presenting the information to. However, if you're trying to make money, then you also have to understand that there is a paying audience. And so
Yes.
they're the people who are going to pay you to get on the stage to then talk to the consuming audience. So for you, it would be vitally important, because I do think you want to make make money just from
I
conversations
do.
we've had, right? Is to think about who could be like, so first of all, like what is the real intention? And is who do we want to know about these things? So do we want just the everyday people to know about all of these wonderful parks and the history of it? Or are we trying to get, you know, organizations, companies, and it could be both, but you may, at first think about like, who am I going after first? And then think about, okay, well, then who would be, if that's my audience, who would be the person who would pay me to get in front of that audience? Right. And so yours is a little bit, it's interesting because one of the things I had mentioned to you when I first met you was I think part of what you could do is inside of positioning is align with like travel agents, align with, tourism, like tour guides and stuff who can help you to get people to understand that these are the places. Now, is that the real moneymaker? It may not be. That might be more of an affiliation kind of thing, like an affiliate, and you come and talk to their people, or you have some resources that you can put together so that when they are selling their tours, that they include that, and then you get a residual from that in some way. But in terms of like a larger audience and having more people, well, I know there are, because everything has a conference, right? There's the
Yes.
environmental conferences. You're talking about environmental things. So there's environmental conferences. There are tourism conferences. So, anything to do with travel, there's those big conferences. So even if you did something that's an affiliate with individual travel agencies, getting into the tourism industry in terms of where they're having conferences, um, chambers of commerce, right? The convention and visitors bureaus, because
Mm-hmm.
what happens is they know what conferences are coming. They're hosting many of them, or they'll be able to recommend you, right, as a speaker. So these are things that I think you have to look at like these bigger organizations and these bigger conferences to try to get on those stages, maybe as a keynote speaker, to be able to bring that in, because they're always doing things where they want to, show off what's happening in their state, right? So wherever these parks are, getting connected to those types of organizations and saying, hey, I am someone who is available to speak about these things. I'm a keynote speaker who can speak about these things and really help bring people to you. And it might even be something that, now that my brain is working and overtime, think about how you can be maybe their spokesperson.
Uh-huh. I want to be a spokesperson. Yeah.
So that might be
Yes.
something to think about, right? So they have, I remember when I was in law school, there was a woman who was from one of the islands, I forget. But she was like the spokesperson for the island, and she had her pictures, and so that's something too. Like if some of the states or some of these national parks are looking for somebody who, can be a spokesperson, could be on commercials, could be, so speaking, we often think about speaking of just being like on these conference stages, but speaking is, we can do speaking in so many ways. And so something like that, where you end up being a spokesperson, where you're doing commercials or you're putting together, they may have a whole marketing campaign that they're doing, and you're part of that marketing campaign. Or maybe you build a marketing campaign for them and say, hey, I'll sell this to you. Here's a marketing
Wow.
campaign to help you to pull people in, or people are coming to your state, but they're not going to the national parks. Here's something that you can do. So that's what I would think about for your positioning.
You are genius. So, in terms of the messaging,
Mhm.
as you have seen, I have a very dense message. And I am asking your expert opinion on how I can present so that I am not either appearing to overwhelm people or to be the savior that you referred to recently.
Yeah.
Just how do
So
I
the
share the experience without making it about me?
Yeah. So the thing about your messaging is that you have to figure out what is your intention and your objective, right? So we're out in the world and we want to do certain things. We want to speak about certain topics. So in the episode that I did with Stacia, you'll see that I talked to her about what her why is, right? And really getting
Yes.
to your why as part of your positioning. Because there's lots of things that we want to speak about, and there's lots of things that we speak about in general, but it's not necessarily the thing that moves the needle for us. It's not the thing that like really wakes us up in the morning. And so when you think about, the national parks and you think about what you want to do with the national parks and what is the real end goal. So like why do you want to talk about this? Like what is this thing for you? Where does it come from? And on the opposite end of that, like what is the objective? What is it that you want people to get out of whatever it is that you decide to speak about or how you decide to present it? It will narrow the messaging. So when I was doing that exercise with Stacia, I wanted her to really get to the reason why she does what she does now, right? So she was a TV producer. Now she's into PR and media, and she helps people get on TV. Well, the reason is because there's things that she saw in her background, right? In her work as a television producer, and even before she decided she was going to be a producer, that triggered her, right? And that is a real driver for what she does. So for you, you have to think about what is the real driver? What is it? What is the legacy that I want to leave? And so how do I get that? How do I bottle that? Is it that I really want people to know that the parks exist, right? So it's more of an awareness campaign. I want people to actually attend, like go to the parks. So that's more of an activation type campaign, right? And who, like really who is going to move the needle for you? Is is it when you think about what your intention and your objective is it the individual consumer, like talking to them, that's going to move the needle for you to get to your objective? Or is it talking to associations, chambers of commerce, the parks themselves? Like, is it the actual entity or entities that can help you? They already have audiences that you're going to just come into their ecosystem and help them push the message. So you have to narrow the message first so that you can figure out who exactly is the right audience.
Thank you, Kelly. And when I saw you do that exercise with Stacia yesterday, it completely blew my mind because I realized that my why is something I've never really thought about. And that made me think about it. And then I realized I'm a little embarrassed by it.
No. Why?
Yes, because actually what happened is when I saw the beauty of the parks and saw only white people, Americans in it, and then, 312 million people went to the national parks in 2022, but the smallest percentage of them were Black people. So in effect, I was really PO'd, disturbed by the fact that so many of my Black brothers and sisters are in communities that are suffering the effects of toxic poisoning from waste treatment sites and all kind of toxins emanating into their communities, right? So they're dealing with that and suffering through that in the environmental justice community. Now, on the other side, the conservation community, all these people are out there, la 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 la, in the fresh air and the astonishing beauty, and then we all pay taxes for these places. So I was really mightily offended. And I decided I did not want another Black child to grow up not knowing what our ancestors did in America and that they can go to the places where history happened and walk in our ancestors' footsteps, literally. So what
Yeah.
does that mean?
So for you, okay, so great. I'm glad that you got there because I feel that that's what's pissing you off, right?
Yes.
So I think your positioning is more around a marketing campaign. I think it's really getting into the parks themselves because they want people to come. right? They want people to come to the parks. The figuring out, talking to the tourism boards in the particular states, the chambers of commerce, like I was saying before, I think going to them and really partnering with them to, again, either be a spokesperson, develop a marketing campaign, because it's about bringing people, right, to the space. And it'll be a harder sell for you to try to get to individual people, right? So you're going to have to use, what you're going to have to do is position yourself and partner with people who already have access to those people, right? And you, I mean, you have all the credentials, like you have all the credentials. So if somebody like you know, reaches out, like puts together a marketing campaign or like a pitch and reaches out to them and say, hey, y'all have all these beautiful parks. Y'all have all this stuff. Yes, lots of people come, but you know who's not coming? Black people. And Black people come to your state. It's not that they don't come to your state. They don't come to the parks when they come to your state. How can we change that? I want to help you change that. How do we do that? Right. And so I think that is where, in terms of your speaking, I think that's where is going to make most sense, as opposed to trying to get to individual people. You need to partner with somebody who can help you do it at mass.
Excellent. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, one thing that you said that really galvanized me too was how to optimize your LinkedIn. And Kelly, guess what? I just started posting on LinkedIn because you said so. And already I am getting people who are very park focused reaching out to me and saying, I support you in this goal of upholding the national parks to the diversity of Americans. It's mind blowing. But you said there's a way to optimize it, and I couldn't find that way.
Okay. So if people are reaching out to you, right? So what happens is oftentimes what we do is we just post on social media and we're not very clear. But because you've gotten very clear, then people are like, oh, because you're calling in the people, right? So that's part of the optimization. The next thing though is like, okay, so these people are reaching out to you. Look at who they are, right? So now that we are talking about, okay, who are the types of people that you want to get to, look at who those people are and see if maybe they're somebody who's either in one of those spaces or maybe connected. But first thing that you can do is like just say, hey, I'm so excited that you commented. What was it about this that drew you to comment? Because it takes a lot for people to even comment. So, what was it about this? Or I'd love to hear your thoughts around this. Just engage them in conversation so that you can get a little bit more from them. You may go into direct message with them so that it's not on the platform. But I think for those people who said, hey, I really love this or whatever, just whatever they said, just have a conversation. Well, you're great at conversation, Audrey.
Yes.
So just have a conversation with them, and say, I'm really excited about this. I would really like to raise awareness about this. So any thoughts? And you could just say that, hey, any thoughts that you have about how we can, how I can really get this out into the world and get it out to more people, I'd be open. I'd love to hear from you. So just have those types of conversations and just keep posting, but get very clear about, if what you're thinking now, or, and anything that I tell y'all on this show, and y'all listening to the show, anything that I say, take it, leave it, don't do it. It's okay, right? These are just my thoughts based on my expertise and what I'm hearing. And so if going after like and really working on making this more of a marketing spokesperson, kind of the face of, right, the park systems kind of thing, then start talking about that. Hey, does anybody on my timeline in tourism or work for the national parks would love to have a conversation with you? I have a great idea to help you get more people there. Would you love to have a conversation? And just keep posting those things, because people will see it. Sometimes people see it. The algorithms do what they do. So you don't know who sees it, who doesn't see it. You write, beautiful blogs all the time. So, you can write blogs about things like that. You can say, hey, I'm on a mission to really raise awareness in the Black and Brown communities about the wonderful historical, the parks in our country. Many of you probably already go to the states where these parks are, and you go vacation there, but you don't realize that there's all this beauty and this history, and it's not just any history, it's our history. So you could talk about things like that. And so then it will draw in the people and just start paying attention to who is commenting, who's liking, and then follow up with people.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, so please help me with this bigger mission, which really is to raise awareness and engagement activity within the environmental space where people understand that climate change is a real thing and they need to prepare for the, how do you say, disasters that are projected to inevitably come. And because I've been in this space since 1995, I've been able to observe the things happening and the growing momentum of things, right? But that's not a popular topic. And I don't think that most people even realize that they need to be prepared. I think that most people are thinking, hey, somebody else got that. But guess what? I have learned you're going to have to fend for yourself. And I don't know how to carry that message, but it's what I really want to let people know.
Okay, so what you have to figure out then is which message, because those are two separate messages, right? The one message we've been talking about is the message around getting people to go to these parks and understanding the wonder and the beauty and all of that around these national parks. This is a whole separate conversation about, environmental justice and conservation, etc. So you can do both. You're smart enough to do both, but you have to figure these are two separate conversations. These are two separate audiences. The issue is that when you have those and they're not necessarily tied together, they're tied together a little bit, but there's not like a straight line necessarily kind of tie. You may be able to figure one out, but this is a totally different audience over here that you're talking about in terms of like the conservation as opposed to, hey, come, explore and vacation in these beautiful parks. So for you, the thing to think about is which one do you want to push first, right? You can push one first and then figure out, okay, now that I'm doing this, I see how I could pull, these other people in. And inside of like the chambers and tourism and all of that kind of stuff, they probably do have some type of initiative around, conservation and all of that. But there are really two different kinds of messages.
Mm,
You're talking to totally different groups in terms of pulling them in. So you can do it. You just have to make sure that that you know exactly who you're messaging to and when, and that you're not trying to put them together. So there's a whole positioning that you would need to do around the conservation issue. And then there's a positioning that you'll need to do around raising the awareness around the parks issue.
interesting. And would you say the same thing if I point out that the national parks are the biggest hedge, the biggest barrier that we have to climate change because they're protecting the air and the water. I mean, some of these parks are like 2.5 million acres of untouched land. So that's what the environment needs in order to stave off the disasters of climate change. So that's why I bring the two things together, because we were in the parks when we started noticing the effects of climate change on nature.
So, and I don't know a lot of, I know nothing about climate change. Let me just say that. But when you think about that, so if is what you're saying that the national parks are impacting, like negatively impacting climate
No.
change, or they
Well,
are, so tell
they
me.
are positive, they are
Agree.
positively impacting our ability to stave off climate change.
Okay.
See, they're the lungs. They're the lungs of the country.
Okay.
you know? So,
So, so
mhm.
here's the thing. So now when you're talking to tourism, when you're talking to chambers of commerce, they will have they may have access to groups, right, that are coming in for conservation or are
Ah,
interested in environmental justice or whatever. So again, understanding that, then what you can do is you can still be a spokesperson and a market and have a marketing campaign, but you're marketing to those type of people. Now, here's the thing though about this. That's like yes, because but that's also preaching to the choir, right? They already are into climate change, understanding climate change. And so the conservationists, right? They're with you. That's already your choir, and they're going to come. What you might want to do is see if there is a niche audience of maybe Black and brown conservationist environmentalists who aren't really looking at the parks in that way. So that might be a way to do it. The other way is to then, if you want to pull the two things together, then is to think about making it more of an environmental conservationist campaign and pulling in how climate change and all these things impact the Black and brown community and why it's so important for them to understand how they intersect, and then pull that together as a marketing campaign so that you pull a different audience, a new audience into the space.
Kelly, can you see the smile on my face? It's like this big. So, leadership, baby.
Yeah.
Yes,
So,
yes, yes.
yeah. So and that's why I said, like, what is the intention and what is the objective? Because you have to figure those things out so that you can understand, okay, well, how do I pull that? Because if you're already talking to conservationists, they know that stuff. That's not your goal. Your goal is an awareness campaign. So then if the awareness campaign is not just to get people to come to the park so that they see the parks, but to understand the connection between having these amazing parks and having these amazing natural and nature preserves and all the things that we have, having all that and how it really impacts your life and understanding more, right? And that it's not separate and apart from, it's not just some place that you vacation. It actually does have an impact on your life and going forward. And right now, like the Gen Zs, they're really into those types of things, right? So it's a matter of trying to work through and understand the campaigning, and reaching out to these places that I'm saying maybe there's somebody already there who you can brainstorm with and who can help to develop these campaigns.
Thank you so much, Kelly. I cannot
Yeah.
think of another thing to ask you. I don't even
Okay.
know what the time is. I'm just so
It's perfect. You
excited.
you did it perfect. 30 minutes.
Wow,
So
wow.
that's so I'm happy to that you got those questions out. I'm glad that you came with those questions, but I think it's really for you just um thinking about what it is, thinking about the scope and what is the pathway that you're going to take to get there. And I think going through those channels is probably going to help you and support you in
Awesome.
doing that.
Awesome. Thank you. Can I just tell you one last thing that
Yes.
I did because of you?
Yes.
I have put on conferences and taken people to the parks on budgets of $100,000 that I raised, right? I never thought of going beyond 100,000. Can you imagine? Ever since you said I'm not exchanging time for money, what I'm exchanging is value. Ooh. So I just put together a proposal for a $500,000 trip to take influencers to the national parks so that they can make exactly the connection we've been talking about and then go out and vote in the upcoming elections in an informed way that makes them understand that the same people in Congress who refuse to fund environmental justice cleanups are the same people who don't want to fund the national parks. See that?
See, look, you already had it. You are, yeah, it's just thinking outside of, the mainstream of like just being on conference stages, or like who can really help you to move the needle.
Yes, yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. Oh, bless you forever, Kelly.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Speaker Mogul.
Uh, Thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, Audrey, thank you so much for being on the Mentor Me Kelly show. If you'd like to be on the Mentor Me Kelly show, there will be a link in the show notes. Also, if you want to come to Speaker Pathways to Profit workshop, which will be February 12th through the 16th, if you're watching this during that time, it's February 12th through the 16th, 2024. Then just go to positionpitchprofit.com. Again, that link will be in the show notes. There's lots of links in the show notes, y'all. So there'll be the Facebook group. I think it's in there. It'll be in there. We'll make sure. Facebook group, the free training. And if you would like to be on the show, we're doing this like kind of as a capsule collection of speakers and experts, thought leaders like Audrey, to just help you move things forward. And I hope today, even in Audrey's questions, that it helped to open your mind and really expand your thought process around how you can build your speaking business. Speaking is a business. And so we have to really be thinking about, how do we get there? How do we make money? I always say that speaking itself is a $2 billion industry. Corporate training in the US is in the last year or so, it was $100 billion industry. So there's money to be made, but there's also money to be made in other places, just like we were talking about with Audrey, like thinking beyond the scope of what everybody thinks is speaking. There's so many ways that you can leverage your voice and leverage your expertise. So start thinking about that. If you have questions, let me know. I hope to see you at the Speaker Pathways to Profit workshop. I hope that some of you will also jump into our Thought Leaders Circle program. We only open that during our launches, which is the Speaker Pathways to Profit workshop. So jump on in so that you can learn more about it. And remember to subscribe, share this with other people, and don't just keep all the goodness to yourself. And until next time, take care. Bye, Audrey.
Thank you so much, Kelly. Thank you.